Hello everyone, I am Laethas and welcome back to another video, and today I have my manga haul for the month of June 2018, and without further ado, let's get right into this haul, starting off with my Viz Media releases. And to start off with, I have the second volume of After Hours. This is a 3-volume Yuri series. I believe the third volume is coming out in December of this year, so very soon to have this entire series. And if you're a fan of Yuri, and you want some more adult characters, then this is definitely one I would recommend reading. I've read the first volume, just going to wait till Volume 3 comes out to read the final two. But yeah, if you're a Yuri fan, highly recommend checking this series out. I really enjoyed that first volume, and a very interesting atmosphere as well, or setting I should say, considering it's about clubs, or nightclubs, so there's that. Next up, I have the third volume of Astra Lost in Space. Don't have too much to say about this series. This is one of my, highlights of 2017. It came out at the tail end, or the first volume did. And I think it's one of the better series, or at least that I picked up, that started releasing that year. And yeah, I'm going to wait till the final volume, the 5th volume, comes out to finish reading this series. I've read the first volume, I enjoyed it. It's pretty dialogue heavy, so do know that when you go into this series, but definitely one I recommend, and since it's so short, that is always a plus. And this is also the first volume that has the new Viz Media logo, and the slightly smaller Shonen Jump sort of tag imprint as well, but there is that. Next up, I have 2 volumes that just came in today, and they are the first 2 volumes of Butterflies Flowers, and this is a Josei series put out by Shoujo Beat, and I haven't gotten into this yet. It came in just this afternoon, actually. I'm recording this sooner to nighttime, so I haven't had a chance to check it out, so I really can't tell you much about it. But yeah, this is a Josei series put out by Shoujo Beat, one of their few Josei series they have released. And these covers are this nice matte finish, which is good because I do like that nice matte feel, but negative of that is they do they wear more easily and they pick up dirt more easily, so that's kind of a negative, but I do like how they feel. But yeah, those first 2 volumes of Butterflies Flowers, and this is an 8-volume series. If I like these 2 volumes, I'll continue to pick it up. If not, then I will probably drop the series. But there are those. And next up, I have the single-volume series Time Killers by Kazuo Kato, the same mangaka that writes Blue Exorcist. And this is a very interesting sort of release format. It's the same height as a SIG, but like the width is not quite as long, like this dimension right here. And it's got these really high gloss pages in it. And so it's just a really unique format. It doesn't fit with anything else, so that's kind of a negative, but it is quite high quality. But again, it is $15, so a little bit more expensive than normal. But I haven't gotten into this yet. If I like it, maybe I'll think about checking out Blue Exorcist. But as of now, this is my only series by Kazuo Kato that I have. But yeah, oh, I almost forgot to mention, it comes with a poster right here that sort of folds out like that. Unfortunately, it's in the book itself, so it's gonna stay there unless I want to rip it out, but I don't really care to do that, but it does come with a poster. Next up, I have the first volume in the Ruby Anthology series, Red Like Roses, and this follows Ruby Rose, or the stories are focusing on Ruby Rose from Ruby. I am not, or I shouldn't say I'm not, I haven't seen the original Ruby animation by Rooster Teeth, but I did enjoy this volume, though I think Basterlaren says it right in how the stories are by like Pixiv artists, so there's no big names in here that you might recognize. So, pick it up if you want, if you like Ruby, but if you don't, maybe don't pick it up. I have been inspired by this to go and check out the original animation series. I will be doing that soon, but I did enjoy this volume, and I will be picking up the subsequent ones. There are only 4, so it is quite a short series to pick up. Next up, I have the next 2 volumes, or volumes 2 and 3 of Golden Kamuy, and I did just finish reading the 3rd volume, and the series is not as good as I remember it being, or at least for me. I didn't enjoy it as much, so I'm probably going to end up dropping this series. I just sort of fell off the wagon of it. It's a little bit over the top in sort of its action elements, which I'm normally pretty okay with, but I just don't find the story as compelling as I used to. So this series is probably going to be dropped. I wasn't really a fan of the sense of humor that this series has. It just isn't my kind of humor. Yeah, next 2 volumes of Golden Kamuy, and the series is probably going to be dropped for me. Next up, I have the 22nd volume of Dora Hado. I love Dora Hado. It is one of my more favorite series, and I think Kyu Hayashida has done a great job with this series. And her art style is very, very unique, and you can just flip through real quick. Just super unique and interesting. I think this series is like wrapping up really soon. I don't imagine it'll be longer than 25 volumes, unless a twist is put into the series, but I don't really know if that's going to happen, but it does seem like the series is coming to a conclusion, so I'll probably just wait until it ends to finish reading the volumes, but I've read 1 through 21 and can highly recommend the series. It's very, very good in my opinion, and it's also a lot of fun, so yeah, highly recommend Dora Hado. Can't wait for the rest of the volumes to come out, especially since the more recent volumes are quite thick. They're like 300 pages a piece now, so like 1.5 volumes for the same price as normal, $13 US, so that's always nice. But yeah, Dora Hado, volume 22. And next up for Viz, I have the final volume, or the 4th omnibus volume of Sweet Blue Flowers, and I have started reading this series, finished up the 1st omnibus volume a couple of days ago, and can't wait to continue reading this series. I've seen the anime, so I know what happens up through like halfway between the 2nd omnibus volume, so I haven't had any new content yet, but I have been enjoying the series nonetheless, and I cannot wait to read more of the series. It's also really quick to get through, very low density, very little dialogue per page, so I can fly through these volumes. But yeah, it's been very good so far, and if you are into sort of a romance series, then I would definitely recommend this one. And if you're a fan of Wandering Sun, this is the same mangaka who wrote that, Takako Shimura. So yeah, so far the series has been excellent, and I expect that it is only going to get better. Next up, I'm going to move on to my only Dark Horse release, and that is Emerald and Other Stories by Hiroaki Samura. And I may or may not recommend this. This is a short story collection, if that's what you're looking for, and you wanted to see one in Hiroaki Samura's sort of style, then I might pick this up. But the stories are hit and miss. Some of the stories are really good, but one of the longer stories I don't think is very good. It's like Uniforms or something like that, which is just a bunch of references from what I gathered from it to other things in like pop culture, or yeah, mostly Japanese pop culture. So I didn't really care too much for that, especially since I didn't get many of the references. But if you do know a lot about that, or you're interested in that, then maybe that won't be as boring to you. But the first story, Emerald, I thought was really good, and a couple of others in here I did enjoy. But this is a very interesting read, but I would only recommend picking it up if you really like Hiroaki Samura's style. Next up, I'm going to move into my Kodansha pickups, and to start off with, I have the 7th volume of Happiness. This is an excellent series. I cannot recommend it enough. Haven't read since volume 5, but of what I've read, 1 through 5 were some of the best manga that I've ever read. so I have no issues slapping this with the highest recommendation I can. I think Shuzo Ashimi is doing an excellent job with this series. I cannot wait till he completes it and I can just read the whole thing. But yes, one of my most highly recommended series. I definitely recommend picking this up, and I cannot wait for more volumes, though I do believe we are caught up with the Japanese release, so it might be a while before we get more volumes. And next up, I have a 2-volume series, and this is a series that is in a hardcover as well, which is always nice, and that is The Black Museum, The Ghost and the Lady by Kazuhira Fujita. And this really appealed to me because I do enjoy my bit of world history, so it was interesting to sort of learn about Florence Nightingale, which is what this series is about. Obviously, there are some fictional elements in here that did not take place, but nonetheless, some of the more overarching sort of ideas of what was going on are historically accurate, and it is interesting to see all the little historical details that are in there. Now, The Black Museum is like the whole series, and The Ghost and the Lady is only part, because I know there's another one, I think it's called Spriggled, that's about Jack the Ripper, but this is the Ghost and the Lady part of The Black Museum, and I thought it was really, really well done. I think the art style definitely sort of is unique and definitely separates itself from the rest. You can just see the way that her eyes are drawn, sort of like concentric circles, and it's really interesting. And just sort of the way the author, or Kazuhira Fujita, has weaved this story through history while adding in his own sort of touches is really, really interesting and cool, and this is a series I definitely recommend you picking up, especially if you're a history fan, because I think you'll get more out of it than just the regular person if you are big into history. But yeah, I really highly recommend this series, and they're in these nice hardbacks that Kodansha has put out, and for being like, these are like 300 pages each roughly, and they're $20 US, as you can see right there. If my flash isn't too bright, there we go. So they are quite good value, and they're definitely ones I would recommend picking up, especially since the story is pretty short at only 2 volumes, and you do get quite a fair amount out of it because there is a good amount of dialogue in here. But I really enjoyed this, and I definitely recommend you picking this one up. Last up for my Kodansha pickups, I picked up the 2nd volume of Vinland Saga. I decided it was finally my time to give the series a second chance, and this just arrived today, so I cannot say if I'm going to be continuing the series or not, but yeah, I do have this 2nd omnibus volume. I know the 10th volume just came out recently, and a lot of people were hyped about that. Maybe after this 2nd book, I will be just as hyped as everyone else, but we shall see in the future. But as of now, I am giving the series a second chance with Volume 2. If I don't like it, I will probably drop the series unless I am told it quote-unquote gets good in Volume or Omnibus 3, but here we are at Book 2. Next, I'm going to be moving into my vertical releases, and first off, I have the 6th volume of Flying Witch. I don't have much to say about this series. I love reading every single volume, always makes me laugh, and is very, very calming and relaxing. So if you're just looking to relax, calm down, soothe your soul, and just sink into your bed or couch or chair or whatever you like to read in, and this is definitely a series I recommend picking up. Unfortunately, we are caught up with the Japanese release, so it's going to be a while before we get Volume 7, but I still enjoy the series nonetheless, and it is one I definitely recommend picking up, especially at only $11 per volume, which is just $1 more than the Viz standard release format. But really have been enjoying Flying Witch. And last up for vertical, I have the last release, or at least in English, that has been put out with the name Satoshi Kon on it, Dream Fossil, which is just a collection of short stories that he did. Some are better than others, as is always the case with these sort of short story collections, but if you liked Opus, I don't think it's as good as Opus. I don't think it's as good as Seraphim, but I do think this is better than Tropic of the Sea. Much better than that, in fact, or at least on the whole. So this really just gives you a glimpse into his mind and sort of the stories that he was writing. He has very realistic artwork, and his mind works in this great way, and it's fun to see all the things that he was thinking of and all the stories that he was telling. And, you know, in here you can really see a lot of ideas flowing, and that's really, really interesting. And it would have been really cool to see where some of these would have gone if they had been expanded upon, but unfortunately, with his passing, we will not be able to see that unless someone decides to take up the mantle and run with some of these ideas. But you never know. But if you're a Con fan, highly recommend this. And if you're looking for a short story collection, I definitely recommend this as well. It is quite a big book, though it is quite expensive at $25 US right there. But yeah, I did enjoy a majority of these stories. Some of them didn't make sense or I didn't like, but on the whole, I really liked where the series was going, and Satoshi Kon is really just an excellent storyteller and knows what he's doing from the get-go when he starts a series, and this really shows that. And next I'm going to move into my Yen Press releases. To start off with, I have the 6th volume of Kiss and White Lily for My Dearest Girl, a Yuri series put out by Yen Press. This is more of a Yuritopia series where, you know, all the characters that go to the all-girls school are in love with other girls that go to the all-girls school. So it doesn't like to focus on one couple very often, though there are a few that it does, you know, come back to and focus on a little bit. But this is really just focusing on a multitude of romances. That may be a plus for you, that may be a minus for you. But on the whole, if you are into Shoujo Ai or you're into Yuri, this is a series I do think you will like and enjoy. So if that's what you are into, then this is a series I recommend. And each volume, I felt it was a little rocky towards the beginning of the series, but recently I feel the quality has sort of stabilized and is consistently good in my opinion. So I've been enjoying this series. I think there are 8 volumes out in Japan, so we're almost caught up, unless Yen Press decides to get wild with their release schedule, which that is not out of character for them to do, but they have gotten better with that recently, but you never know. Yeah, Kiss and White Lily for My Dearest Girl, Volume 6. This one has sort of a purple color to it. Don't know what these flowers are. Maybe they're lilacs, but I don't know my flowers, so maybe I'm wrong on that. Yeah, there is that. Next up, I have the Yuri Anthology series put out by Yen Press, Eclair, or Eclair, or Eclair. It's an E with an accent, and I'm not sure how I'm supposed to pronounce it, so I'm just going to call it Eclair. This is an anthology series by a bunch of different mangaka that wrote some short Yuri series, or Shoujo Ai series, sort of depending on what each one wanted to write. Some of them are good, some of them are less good. It really depends on, you know, what you like and the individual talents of who was writing the story. This is the first of 3 that have been released. Well, two more have been released in Japan, and there might be more coming in the future, and this is the first one released by Yen Press. I'm not sure if they're going to continue with these. I would like it if they would, that has yet to be determined. If you're a fan of Yuri or Shoujo Ai, this is one I would recommend. I feel the quality overall is good, and you will find something that you like. One of your fetishes will be in here if you are into Yuri, so I do recommend picking this up. I would like to see more of these sort of anthology series picked up in the future. I know Citrus has 1 or 2 anthology series. I'm hoping 7 Seas picks those up and releases it along with Citrus, or has it in as a bonus for first editions. But yeah, I really liked the anthology in this, and seeing the different ways that different mangaka took their stories. And so that was really interesting to see the different ways in which these romances sort of developed, or not necessarily developed, but progressed in some cases, or moved along in others. So this was a really interesting read, and if you're a fan of Yuri, I definitely recommend picking it up. Next up, I have this book that just came in today, so I have not read it, and that is So I Cant Play H, which, from my understanding, is an ecchi, maybe harem series. Haven't gotten into it, so I can't say very much about it. But yeah, we shall see if I like this. It is 5 volumes long. If I like this first volume, I'll pick up the rest. If I think this is really bad, then I won't. It's as easy as that. Yeah, if you've read this series, let me know what you think of it. Is it awful? Is it great? You never know with these types of series, but there is that. And last up for Yen Press, I picked up another one of their hardcover series. I wish they wouldn't do dust jackets, because I find them annoying, but that's what they do for their hardcovers, and I got Angel of Elenberg by Aki, and this is a little bit of a shorter read. It's not too long. However, I do think it's very, very good foundational work. Like, if this were to be longer, or if this had 3 to 5 volumes, I feel would be a good length. This series could have been excellent, because it has a lot of sort of the background material, or foundations for what could be an excellent story. Unfortunately, it's only 1 volume, and so it tries to tell too long of a story in too little time, which leaves a few of the details and character motivations lacking, in my opinion. But I still enjoyed it for what it was, and I really did like the series. However, I would have liked it to have been longer to sort of flesh out more of those details, but it really is a good base for what you can make, or what can be made into a good story. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, I would recommend picking this up, because I do think it is worth reading, even with those shortcomings and shortfalls. It is very, very interesting story that is, I don't want to say completely unique, because it definitely feels like other stories I've read, but it has its own originality to it that I feel makes it, you know, stand out from a lot of other series that are out there. So yeah, picked up that series. It is a little bit more pricey than the other Yen Press hardcovers. Normally they're $17, but this one's $18. So it is on the more expensive side, but it is, I still think it's very good, though. As I've said, $18 is a little pricey, especially since the book is quite thin, but I did enjoy my reading of this series. And next I'm going to move into my 7 Seas pickups. You may be anticipating some very exciting releases towards the end of this haul, if you know what has been coming out recently. But to start off with, we have the 4th omnibus for To Love Ruth. This is volumes 7 through 8, and I've been enjoying this series. It's been fun, it's been funny. It's the kind of story that I want to read to have fun and enjoy. There isn't a whole lot of theming going on, or at least not yet, but you can see that it does have its own sort of unique moral messages, as naive or as simple as they might be, but it is fun and enjoyable to read, and the interactions between the characters are very enjoyable for me, and I think the characters are very well sort of fleshed out, and they're unique. With as many characters as this series has, it is very impressive to me that all the characters feel as unique as they do, with the amount of sort of screen presence that they get, and how they don't feel like rehashes of other characters in this series, and they have their own sort of personalities. And they're not just copy and paste archetypical tropes that you sometimes see in this series. So I have been enjoying this series a lot. And if you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen me post an image where basically this author is a complete and utter genius. He's a madman, and he basically predicted My Hero Academia before it was even conceived as an idea from the author of the series. But yeah, mad genius Saki Hasumi predicted the future in To Love Ru, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I've been really enjoying To Love Ru. We'll definitely be picking up more volumes in the future. And if you don't mind fan service, this is a comedy I would definitely recommend picking up. I think you will really enjoy it. And speaking of picking up more To Love Ru, I decided that I was going to continue with the series on Into Darkness. So I have the first 5 volumes that are out of this series, and that is all that is currently out. Well, darn. I will pick that up right now. And by right now, I mean as soon as all these volumes are standing up and not about to fall over. Okay, well, that one's just gonna lean against Tokyo Ghoul for now, and that's gonna be there. Yeah. I haven't read any of this, and I will not be reading any of this until I finish the original. But yeah, I imagine I will enjoy this. Now, this is in a different magazine than the original To Love Ru. So it is more risque, is my understanding. I think the Darkness volumes got pulled from Comixology or something like that, because they were against terms of service or something for too much fan service or something like that, which I think is kind of funny. But yeah, I've been enjoying To Love Ru. I imagine I will enjoy To Love Ru Darkness because it's the same duo that's heading this series up, and I think they're doing a good job with the original. Maybe you guys can tell me if Darkness is better or worse than the original if you've read both. But as far as I can tell, I am predicting it to be as good of quality, if not better than the original, because I think this is just going to be a continuation with the same antics going on. But yeah, that is the first 5 volumes for To Love Ru Darkness, and I will be picking up the rest in the future. I think there are a total of 18 volumes. I think there are 18 volumes of To Love Ru and Darkness, so there are going to be 9 omnibuses for the original, and then 18 singles for Darkness. But I am anticipating really enjoying this series, so I have no qualms with the sort of large blind buy that I'm going into. Next up, I have Yokai Girls Volume 3, and this is similar to Monster Musume. So if you like those types of series, those ecchi comedy harem type series, then you'll probably like this. If you don't like those, then you probably won't like this. It is a little bit more tropey than Monster Musume, but the characters are slightly different in how they interact with our main character because of the situations they're in, so it does differentiate itself enough from that, and so it is unique, and I will continue to be picking it up, but I don't think it will blow your mind, and if you're not into these kinds of things, I don't think this is one you will enjoy, unless some nuance in here tickles your fancy. There is some Yuri in the beginning sort of section, so I liked that. Maybe you will like that too, but that is not a very prominent sort of element of the series going forward. But yeah, there is the 3rd volume of Yokai Girls. Next up, I have the 1st volume of Hungry for You, Endo Yasuko Stalks the Night. This is the first of a 2-volume series. The 2nd volume, I believe, coming out in December, so I'm just going to wait until that comes out and read it. This is a Yuri or a Shoujo Ai, so I don't really know a whole lot more beyond that, though I do know this main character is a vampire, or says she's a vampire. I don't know if she isn't a vampire and she's just sort of like a chunibyo, but I do think she is a real vampire, or at least in the context of the story, that is. Yeah, this is an interesting romance between the vampire girl and the not vampire girl, or the human girl. But as I've said, I haven't jumped into this because I'm just going to wait till the second and final volume comes out in December to read the whole thing. Next up, I have the first volume of Crisis Girls. Now, this is only a 2-volume series, and I think this is just a bunch of ridiculous madness going on. Just this guy thought to mix as many different things together as he possibly could into one book, and it turned into madness, or at least that's what I have gathered from reading synopses and stuff like that. It's only 2 volumes, so I don't really have much of a problem with the blind buy. So I will be picking up both of the volumes. Second volume comes out in October, I do believe, and I will let you guys know what I think of the series come that time. But as it stands right now, I've not read this, so I cannot attest to the quality, though based on that picture alone, it looks pretty wild and fun. But I haven't read it yet, so I could be. Next up, I have the first 2 volumes of Nurse Hitomi's Monster Infirmary, and these came in today, so I haven't read them. As always, if I don't like it, I'll drop it. If I do end up enjoying it, I will continue to pick it up. But I believe this is comedy-focused on Nurse Hitomi, obviously treating patients at her clinic that all happen to be supernatural in some capacity, and is a comedy based on that, I think. Again, I haven't gotten into it yet, though maybe I will do a first impressions on this after I read these first 2 volumes to sort of let you guys know what I think of it and whether or not you should pick it up. But as I've said, it came in just today, so I don't really have much to say on this series. But it does look interesting and sort of different than a lot of the series that I've been reading recently, so we shall see if I end up enjoying it. Next up, I have another series that just came in today, and that is Yoona and the Haunted Hot Springs, which is getting an anime adaptation, I believe, either this season or next season. And I just decided to pick up the manga. I do believe it's running in Shonen Jump, and so it's very interesting to see that 7 Seas has licensed the series. And it's hot spring adventures with supernatural beings and ghosts and spirits and stuff, so sounds like a lot of fun, and has the makings of a very funny and good comedy. But it came in today, haven't read any of it yet, so I shall see if that is true. Though I do think the sort of concept has a lot of potential going with it, and considering it's like 10 volumes or so deep into Shonen Jump, it's probably at least pretty good, because that is a very big, prominent magazine, and I would imagine that if a series wasn't very good, it would not be at 10 volumes in that magazine. But yeah, the first 2 volumes of Yoona and the Haunted Hot Springs. And next up, I have the first 2 volumes for Nameless Asterism, which is a 5-volume Yuri series, so of course I had to pick it up. I don't think there are too many more Yuri series that are out, or at least that are in print that I can pick up at the moment, but yeah, this is 5 volumes long. It's a Yuri. I've heard good things about it, so I'm going to pick up all 5 volumes before jumping into this series, because I have a good imagining that I will at least enjoy my reading of it, especially since it is a Yuri series. So yeah, the first 2 volumes out of 5 for Nameless Asterism. Next up, I picked up the Ancient Magus Bride Merkmal official guidebook, and this is just a really, really interesting sort of like character Bible type thing. As you can see here, it has sort of the concept for the, you know, this was the chapter that was pitched to the original magazine. So you can see it's just kind of sketches, because it was just sort of the pitch for the original story. So it has that in there. It has information about the characters, Has some like promotional artwork and stuff like that in here. So really, really interesting little book. But unless you are a huge fan of The Ancient Magus' Bride, or you're a huge completionist for your collection and you gotta have everything dealing with this story, maybe not get it, because this is more of a collector's or item, or a fan's item, more than anything. But I do think it's really cool, and I hope we get more of these types of books in the future. I do know Seven Seas has also licensed the 2 Ancient Magus Bride novels, as well as the supplement, sort of, I think it's more guidebooks, but it could be just side stories, so I don't really know what they are, but Seven Seas has licensed both of those. Seeing how popular the Ancient Magus Bride is, a lot of you are probably going to want to pick this up, or have already done so, but it is really, really cool and unique, and I hope we get more of these types of books in the future. This is basically the same thing as a Chibi Vampire Bites, which I have for Chibi Vampire, so, you know, these things are cool and unique, and I hope more publishers decide to do what they do and publish them, or license them, then publish them, is usually how that goes about working. But yeah, I have the Merkmall guidebook. And next up, I have the Perfect Blue Awaken from a Dream novel, which is just sort of side stories dealing with similar concepts to the original Perfect Blue novel, Complete Metamorphosis. And it really shows how the author has evolved in his storytelling, because the first story in here was the first I think he'd ever written, or the first that he'd ever written and had published. And I didn't think it was very good, but the other 2 that he wrote in here, I believe he wrote the second story, then he wrote the original Perfect Blue, and then he wrote the final story in here, because there are 3 stories included in this book. So it's really interesting to see how his writing style sort of evolved, and how he, you know, adapted as an author and as an artist. So it's really, really cool to see this, and it's a collection of short stories, all from the same author. So if you enjoyed the original novel, then I would recommend picking this up. It's pretty neat and cool, just sort of collecting short stories from Yoshikazu Takeuchi's sort of writing career around the time that Perfect Blue was released. So it's pretty interesting in my opinion. And now we have some of the fun releases that you have all been anticipating. To start off with, we have the Captain Harlock Classic Collection, Volume 1 of 3. I cannot give Seven Seas enough credit, because these books are amazing. These hardcovers are excellent. You can just hear that is nice and sturdy and solid. And the artwork and the spines and everything just looks amazing. The only small criticism I have is that the pages feel a little bit thin, but not too much for me to be overly concerned. Yeah, that is the Captain Harlock Classic Collection Volume 1. And you guys all know what's coming next. We have Devilman, the Classic Collection Volume 1 of 2. So, yeah, you can just see these side by side. They fit right perfectly together. The spines match up. The Classic Collection matches up. It's really cool to see the colors, because this is sort of like a red on black, and this is sort of a black on red, and they just mesh together so well. And these books are excellent. And I'm really happy they decided to go with like these big hardcovers, especially for Devilman, because this just looks so nice on the shelf, this large logo on this giant behemoth of a book. They have color pages in here, and it's just, these are excellent. Like, oh wait, I probably don't want to show that. Maybe we can, actually no, bad idea. I know exactly what's going to happen. I watched Mr. Celio Senpai's video. I know what happens when you open Devilman. Your channel gets shut. Well, no, that didn't actually happen to him, but you know what I'm implying by that. Yeah, love to see these books. They're so high quality, and I cannot wait to see the other classic collections that Seven Seas has to put out for Cutie Honey and Space Battleship Yamato, and maybe If these sell well enough, they will be doing more of these hardcover editions, but these are excellent books, and I am very happy to see them for two very well-known, excellent series as well. I have seen Devilman Crybaby, and I've read Queen Emeraldus by Leiji Matsumoto, and I will be waiting till the second collection comes out to read this, until the two other classic collections come out to read Captain Harlock. But these are excellent books, and I'm very happy to see them, is what I have to say. And yeah, I'm very happy that Seven Seas decided to license these, and I cannot wait for more. And you guys thought I was done, but I have a few other gems to show you guys. One, less of a gem because it kind of just came out, and so it's still a little bit in print. And the other one, I have a little bit of a story to tell about my acquisition of the volume. So, we have the Kami-sama Kiss Volume 25 limited edition that comes with the art book still in its shrink wrap. And we also have the Vampire Knight Volume 19 limited edition. And these are both the final volumes of the series. And Shoujo Beat has done them limited edition treatment and sort of packaged them together with an art book and have unique sort of spines and cover art. But you might be wondering why I've picked these up if I don't own the other volumes of the series, and there are a couple reasons for that. One is because I'm interested in both of these series and I want to sort of own these limited editions before they go out of print. Get to that in a little bit because this one is out of print, and I will tell the story about how I got this volume. And this is still in print. You can still find it and get it. Sorry about the cut there. My phone actually ran out of memory, so the camera shut off. And sorry about the cut that happened earlier in the video. I forgot that my camera shuts off after a certain amount of time as well. So there's that cut happened without my knowledge as I was recording the video. But as I was saying, you can still get this volume, but I don't know how long it will be in print. And the second reason is because I've seen the anime for both of these series, or both seasons of the anime for both of these series. So I do know sort of what they're about, though it's been a while, so I've forgotten a number of the stuff that has happened. But my story for Vampire Knight, I was just kind of browsing in-stock trades when I saw that this was for sale on their website, and I thought it was strange considering that this has been out of print for a while, and people are asking a lot of money for it on eBay and other sites. So I thought that that was not the case. I went to their FAQ, and one of the questions was, if it's listed on your site, is it in stock? The answer to that question was yes. If it's on our site, it's in stock. So I was all happy and excited. Waited a couple days, deciding what else to purchase with this volume. Decided, why not complete my limited editions from Shoujo Beat by throwing in the Kami-sama Kiss one. And I threw in a few other volumes of manga. And so I placed my order. And they say that things usually ship out in 2 days from when you place the order, so long as you don't order on or near a weekend. And it shows on their site whether a book has been picked and scanned, not picked nor scanned, or shipped. So it was like 3 to 4 days after I'd placed the order, I was on the page, on that page where it shows you what's been picked and scanned. Everything except Vampire Knight Limited Edition Volume 19 had been picked and scanned. I was sitting here thinking, oh, I hope there wasn't, there was a mistake or an error somewhere in the code or in their database that showed that Vampire Knight was in stock when it was in fact not. So I send customer support an email asking sort of what's going on, and I get a reply saying, we're sorry, we made a mistake. That volume is out of stock in our warehouse, and the distributor no longer has it in stock. So I was sitting here like, oh no. I was so close to obtaining this limited edition volume for less than retail price. And I'm sitting here like, okay, and they're like, don't worry, we'll give you a refund, it'll be fine. And I was like, okay, that's good. At least I'm not spending my money on nothing. And so the package ships out, and then a day later, a day after the package ships, or I get the tracking number for the package, I get another email from customer support saying, oh, just FYI, we found you a copy, or a new copy, and we shipped it for you. And I'm like, I'm sitting here like, this is great. Like, the hope was dashed, and then they brought the hope back, and it's a completely new, undamaged copy, and the last retail copy ever sold. So a little bit of an interesting story for me getting the 19th volume for Vampire Knights, or at least the limited edition version. So that was a little bit of a fun story that I got to be a part of, and so I thought I'd share it with you guys. But that will do it for this haul, with some story time with Laethas and some limited edition volumes. But yeah, have you read any of the series in this haul, especially the ones that I've not read, that I've just started to pick up? Do you want to see more classic collections? Do you want to see more hardcovers? Do you also recommend The Ghost and the Lady? And do you have any other personal anecdotes related to your manga collection? Some weird, crazy stuff that has happened for you. But yeah, that was a very long video. If you've stuck around this far, I'm very thankful for you. I'm happy you have done so. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share. If you'd like to leave a comment about anything, you can always do that in the comments down below. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, there's a link to that in the description down below. And if you'd like to keep up to date with all of my content, you can hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching this June mega haul that sort of combined in a little bit of May, because I didn't have a collection for that because of shipping and stuff. All things were arriving in June except for Awaken from a Dream. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Your opinions, just leave them in the comments down below. I am Laethas. Goodbye.